Welcome back, mushroom folks. In this video, I will show you a simple way to make mushroom grow bags for compost-loving or coprophilous mushrooms. This is a great method because it doesn't require a lot of equipment or supplies, and it always produces consistent results. I can only show so much detail on this platform, so please join our Patreon for a more detailed breakdown on harvesting and preserving the mushrooms. To get started, you will need filter patch grow bags, coco coir, grain spawn, a fine mist spray bottle, micropore tape, a scale, and a pressure cooker. The first step is to hydrate your coco coir. There are many different recipes and techniques you can use, but I use a simple formula of dry coco coir multiplied by 5 to get the amount of water needed. For example, if you are using a 600-gram brick of coco coir, you will need 3,000 grams or 3 liters of water. A common guideline that is used is to hydrate your substrate to field capacity, but I find that this is often too dry for my growing environment. For these 14A filter patch bags, I typically use 115 grams of coco coir and 575 grams or milliliters of water. Add the coco coir to a filter patch bag, followed by your measured amount of water, and let it sit for about 10 minutes to allow the water to be absorbed. Mix it periodically by hand to break up any dry chunks. Once the water is evenly distributed, sterilize the substrate for 2.5 hours at 15 psi. Let the substrate cool completely before inoculating it with high-quality grain spawn. Check out our grain spawn video for a detailed guide on how to make your own. For this method, I typically use a 1:1 or 1:2 grain spawn to substrate ratio by weight. For example, if I am using 3 pounds of spawn, I will use 3 to 6 pounds of substrate. If you use a higher spawn rate, you will achieve faster colonization. Using a lower spawn rate will allow you to stretch your grain spawn a bit further, but you will typically experience slower colonization times. This inoculation can be done in open air, but you will reduce the chances of contamination if you use a still air box or laminar flow hood. Simply break up the grain spawn and mix the desired amount with the sterilized substrate. Here I am using about 680 grams or 1.5 pounds of grain to inoculate 680 grams of substrate. Once thoroughly mixed, seal the top of the bag with paper clips. You can also use chip clips, tape, a heat sealer, or another creative solution to seal the top of the bag. Now let your bags incubate in a dark, low-traffic area. I recommend incubation temperatures around 70 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit for most varieties of coprophilous or compost-loving mushrooms. Leave the grow bag undisturbed for about 7 to 10 days, then check for signs of healthy growth. You should see white mycelium and no contamination like green or black mold. Let the block incubate until it is fully colonized and white with mycelium. Check on it periodically to ensure it is not contaminated or stalled. Once the grow bag is fully colonized, it is time to introduce fruiting conditions. This will stimulate the mycelium you have been cultivating to form mushrooms. With the grow bag method, fruiting conditions are simple to achieve. All you need to do is open the bag periodically to let in fresh air and expel CO2. The more fresh air you introduce, the faster it will dry out, so you will need to spray it with water often to ensure condensation is always present. Typically, you will need to mist and fan the block about once per day so that there is enough fresh air and moisture is always present, especially when the mushrooms are first starting to form. Some varieties grow well without opening the bag at all until they are ready to harvest. Other varieties need more fresh air to start producing mushrooms. In this case, I prefer to remove the filter patch for more airflow. Cover the holes with micropore tape to reduce the risk of contamination. I recommend experimenting to find a balance that works well for the environmental conditions and genetics you are working with. Important tip: avoid spraying the mushrooms and mycelium directly. Instead, spray the sides of the grow bag only. Spraying the mushrooms or substrate directly can cause issues and invite bacteria and other microbes to grow. Check the grow bag daily for signs of growth. You should see baby mushrooms, also known as pins, start to form about 1 to 2 weeks after fruiting conditions are introduced. Pins typically take about 5 to 7 days to fully mature. I can't show footage of the harvest on this platform, so please join our Patreon for a more detailed breakdown of the harvest and preservation process. Once you have harvested your mushrooms, thoroughly spray the grow block with water and close the top of the bag with a paper clip. Repeat the same fruiting and harvesting process for more flushes. You can typically get 3 or more healthy harvests from one grow bag. After harvesting, you should dehydrate the mushrooms immediately to preserve their potency. Join our Patreon for guides on how to use your dehydrated fruits to make mushroom tea, chocolate, extracts, and more. Please subscribe for more mycology tips and tricks. Thanks for watching.